Water. Please just give me some. Nope, Ebizo would say, as Ebizo then takes his hand, pressing it down to Sasuke's hand back into the ground. 50 more, boy, he would say. It's been 3 days since Sasuke and Naruto were saved by the honored siblings, that being Lady Chiho and Ebizo. The two had taken them back to their far atrium outside of the Sand Village, where Naruto is still recovering. Even after all the medical ninjutsu that Chiho had used, Naruto still has yet to wake up yet. He's been mumbling in and out of consciousness for quite a while now. Mom, Kuro, Tsuki, no, don't stop pulling on the... Do you think he's ever gonna wake up, Sasuke would ask. Chiho would nod, saying, he's just exhausted. He did use a ton of energy after all. He battled Lord Gaara and the Kazekage. Well, got stomped by the Kazekage, but still. It's still quite impressive he even managed to survive an attack from the Golden Dust user, the 4th Kazekage. Chiho, looking at Naruto, would think of her grandson, Sasori. Sasori's in pretty close age range to Naruto, at least from the last time Lady Chiho had seen him. So naturally this would make her sad, feeling that feeling of loss that her and Ebizo had when Sasori abandoned the village. Anyway, enough jibber jabber, back to your training! Sasuke would be thrown by Ebizo into the middle of the pool within the atrium, as Sasuke begins to drown into the water. No, use your chakra, she'd say, as Sasuke continues swinging his arms, coughing up water. Sasuke would close his eyes as he focuses his mind, ignoring the two elderly people yelling at him. Sasuke would remember the words that Naruto had told him, to harness that flame, the flame inside of him, the will of rage. That rage that Itachi burned within his very soul. That, as Sasuke peers onto it, he sees the memory, the bloodshed of his family. As Sasuke's emotions would be dead calm, Ebizo and Chiho would notice, as Sasuke's chakra seems to switch from a turbulent rainstorm to a calm pool of water. Sasuke would open his eyes, seeing the reflective surface of his chakra in the water. As Sasuke would take a deep breath in and out, as he slowly begins to rise up from the water, now standing on the pool, perfectly still, as a single ripple of water would then edge from his feet out to the edge of the pool. Sasuke taking careful steps, walking around the pool, as he turns every now and then to watch Chiho and Ebizo. Sasuke would be walking when he would hear a yell from Ebizo, his right foot almost slipping into the water as he pulled himself back up. Ebizo laughing. Alright, appears you've got it under control for now, he'd say. Sasuke would turn thinking, really? As he smiles. We go back to 3 days ago, like I mentioned earlier, when Sasuke and Naruto were rescued originally. Sasuke having begged them to help Naruto, they would agree. Sasuke, in exchange, would have to offer them entertainment, while Naruto was asleep, of course. With the two hearing from Sasuke a recount of their adventures, Sasuke, after having originally woken up, would find Lady Chiho and Ebizo having waited for him, and Naruto, who hadn't woken up yet. Sasuke would have, seeing them, asked where he was and what happened to them, with the two explaining to Sasuke how he had collapsed in front of them, begging for help, and that they had saved the two of them. Really? Sasuke would say. So embarrassing. Anyway, Sasuke would thank the two, saying that he'll get them out of their hair, with them holding their hand up, telling him to wait. Part of this deal that they offered in order to save them was that he has to provide them with entertainment. And that's where we pick off today, where they decided that they would turn Sasuke into the ultimate shinobi before his friend woke up, seeing how much they could make him improve, testing their skills like they had with Sasori when he was growing up. Anyway, Sasuke was forced to do push-ups, sit-ups, and work on his body. They eventually, after having seen what he can do and his max and his stamina, would ask Sasuke to spar with them. What? Sasuke would say. I couldn't punch an old lady. Chiho would have him on the ground before he even finished his sentence. Oh, really? Sasuke would now be annoyed as he says, let's try that one more time. Sasuke running forward as he throws a strike towards Chiho, her easily moving out of the way. She moves so well, Sasuke would be thinking, as Chiho would easily be able to dodge around all of his attacks. Chiho would use some Puppet Master Jutsu, creating a single thread of chakra and wrapping it around Sasuke's leg, pulling him out from under, as he falls to the ground. Sasuke would be tired of this as he then weaves the hand seal, saying, Fire style, Fireball Jutsu! Dodge if you want to live any longer, he'd say, as he then blasts the fireball towards the two, with Chiho easily neutralizing it. with her and Ebizo simply just tanking the attack, with nothing happening. Sasuke would be shocked, now finally realizing that these two aren't just some ordinary old people, as Sasuke began to train with them. The two would have been horrified to learn that Sasuke was only capable of the fireball jutsu and walking on trees. Barely. Even that wasn't perfect, with him only having able to gain the skill after watching Suki and Naruto do it, and they were doing it a completely different way than what would be more natural for him, which Chiho and Ebizo would teach Sasuke, teaching him more chakra control as he's able to walk on water and trees now. Sasuke after this point had begged them to teach him some techniques, with Sasuke thinking this is his chance to learn something valuable, something that he could use to kill Itachi. Chiho, sensing this darkness in Sasuke, would refuse. Ebizo would turn, bickering with his sister, thinking it'd be fun. Chiho yelling at Ebizo that she had refused after sorcery to teach anyone else, not after what he did. Chiho would be furious, storming off, as Ebizo would sigh, turning to Sasuke, asking him to give them a little more time, with him convincing Chiho eventually. Chiho still not liking what she was going to be forced to do by her brother. It'll be this very blade that you forge that'll cut yourself down one day, she would tell Sasuke. Sasuke gulping, but hardening his determination, as he nods, saying, "It's fine." Chiho was a master of poison, and she and Ebizo's first task before they could determine what techniques they could even teach Sasuke would be to test his chakra nature. Since there were no plants that were blooming that you could just take in the land of wind, since it was a complete utter desert, unlike in the Leaf Village when Naruto in the original timeline would have used leaves to test his training for his Russian Shuriken for wind release, Sasuke would have to use the paper seals. There were special papers that you could purchase in the marketplace that would test your chakra nature. Having a different reaction would tell how the paper reacted to your chakra, would tell you what natures you have. So how do I know what reaction is what nature, he would say. Ebizo would then tell him to leave it to him, as he explains to Sasuke the effects that the paper could take. If you have fire release, the paper will ignite and turn to ash. If you have wind release, the paper will split in two. Lightning, your paper will wrinkle. Earth, the paper will begin to crumble away, petrified. Water, the paper will become moist and will dampen. Well now, don't just look at it, he would say, as Ebizo gestures to Sasuke to give it a shot. Sasuke would pick up the piece of paper tenderly, as he decides to flow chakra into his hands. The paper begins to crumple as it then burns away. Ebizo whistling, impressed that Sasuke has two chakra natures at his age, flame and lightning release, just like the original timeline. Now, knowing about Sasuke's chakra natures, his training could proceed, as Chiho and Ebizo begin to teach Sasuke some techniques. Chiho would want Sasuke to become his own person, deciding not to teach him the puppeteering technique, or at least the traditional version of it. Instead, she would teach Sasuke merely how to create chakra threads, a specific type of shape transformation, similar to how Naruto had to learn how to make the Rasengan in the original timeline. Sasuke would be instructed to thin out his chakra as much as possible, turning it and weaving it into fibers around each other. Sasuke, holding his hands about a feet apart, would eventually be able to do it, as he creates chakra threads connecting between each of his fingers. Chiho would instruct him, as she then holds out a single chakra thread, handing a kunai to Sasuke from Ebizo. Ebizo would instruct Sasuke, saying to strike Chiho's chakra thread, trying to cut it. Sasuke would do so as he then pushes down with all of his strength onto the wire, and it wouldn't break. The chakra would remain strong, as he'd be shocked, the thread actually pulling the blade back up from its tension. It's like a steel wire, he'd be thinking, versus Sasuke's, which were like mere strings, easily able to be ripped apart. Chiho would laugh, instructing Sasuke that if you can master how to control chakra threads, there are multiple alleyways that you can open up, multiple techniques that you can use and create at the moment's notice. A web of chakra threads, perhaps even lit aflame by your fire release. Doesn't that make a perfect trap once you've captured someone? She would think. Sasuke would be instructed to continue to weave chakra threads and make them as tight as possible, having to hold his hands up while he's asleep, continuously tightening the thread, never letting go for even an instant. The muscles on his hands would even be tensing up from how tight the chakra threads are becoming. The moment that Sasuke fell asleep and the threads began to disappear, Ebizo would slap him over the head with a wooden stick, as Sasuke would then pull himself up screaming, as he goes back into his training. Sasuke gritting his teeth and bearing it, thinking this is what he had promised Naruto, that he would get stronger. When he had asked Naruto that he wanted to go with him, this is what he meant. as Sasuke continues to train even while he sleeps. After Sasuke had gotten his chakra threads to be a competent thickness, it would be up to him now to try and extend them as far as possible. Instructed to attach him to the far end of the atrium connected to a tree, as Sasuke would still lay in his bed, having to continue to maintain that tightness, as Ebizo would walk around the atrium, now whacking the threads with his stick every now and then, and if it broke, he would then run back over to Sasuke and hit him, as Sasuke would then scream again, having to go back to his training, working on tightening and improving his length of thread, until he could get almost 40 meters of chakra threads on both hands. Chiho would know by this point that Sasuke's new Uchiha, her and Ebizo deciding how they could plan from this point. Sasuke having gotten so pissed off one time from getting hit by Ebizo that his Sharingan activated, scaring the both of them, but they wouldn't let this falter their training, as in fact they have a better idea, telling Sasuke to keep his Sharingan activated and watch Chiho and his own chakra threads. Sasuke even beginning to train the Sharingan while he was training his new jutsu. Finally, after almost a week of training, Sasuke would have been able to get his chakra threads about up to par where Chiho's was, which is pretty impressive to say the least. The Sharingan having helped a lot with Sasuke able to copy the chakra flow, tension, and length. Now that Sasuke had pretty much mastered creating basic chakra threads, it was time for him to learn how to use his nature transformations, as he'd be instructed to wrap his chakra threads around a tree, Chiho doing the same while Ebizo watched, as Chiho would then tell Sasuke to watch her. Sasuke would activate his Sharingan at one Tomoe, staring intensely upon the chakra paths that Chiho would be using. Chiho would breathe in and out, as she then suddenly tenses up, her chakra threads beginning to turn a different shade. Is that? She would have imbued her chakra threads with poison, her specialty, and a Yang release type attack. Now, Sasuke wasn't as adept with poison, but he could use lightning and flame release, something that he could already do. Sasuke would be instructed on how to imbue his chakra threads with nature release. Sasuke would be able to thrill his entire thread, turning it to a light blue color, as he's able to use lightning release, lightning crackling along the thread's edge, like an electric cable, a wire, as Sasuke would be able to fry the tree with electricity. But no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't seem to be doing it with fire, with flame. He couldn't imagine what it would look like, imagine how such a technique would look. Finally, after another 3 days, Naruto would be beginning to wake up, as he's finally out of his unconscious state. Ebizo and Chiho would know it was about time, as they decided to talk to Naruto, leaving Sasuke to train on his own. Sasuke would train at night working on a special technique, or two that he had figured out that he wanted to try. And soon, the final day would come, when it was time for Sasuke to take his final test. Naruto would watch eagerly Suki at his side as he cheers Sasuke on, not knowing exactly how much stronger his friend has become in the last week and a half. Chiho would laugh, wondering, as she says, "Has our little experiment done any good? Time to figure it out, boy." "You haven't even seen my secret technique I've been working on," Sasuke would say, as he activates his Sharingan. "Take this, old lady. It's time for me to get my revenge on you for all that stupid training you made me go through. Every push-up, every punch, every time you and Ebizo would beat me in my sleep. Time to get revenge," he'd laugh, Naruto clearly seeing Sasuke's sleep-deprived, angsty ass. Anyway, Sasuke would begin to battle Chiho, with her laughing it off, saying he probably hasn't gotten any stronger, little weakling, as Chiho would create a thread connected to Sasuke's leg, about to take him out just like she had that week ago. Sasuke this time would not be fooled. As she tries to, this would be when Sasuke created his own chakra thread on her hand, pulling her arm back, not allowing her to rip her hand back, pulling him out from under like she had done before. This time, Sasuke would take his other hand, grabbing the thread, as he pulls Chiho forward, going for a kick. Chiho would use another chakra thread in her other hand to attach to herself, pulling her out of the way, as Sasuke would sever the thread connected to his foot, cutting her chakra off from him. Chiho would try to attempt to throw poison at Sasuke, who would burn it away with fire style, as Sasuke leaps backward, running onto the wall. Sasuke would create 2 chakra threads, throwing one up onto the ceiling, one onto the wall, attached around his waist, as Sasuke leaps out into the air, using the thread to swing, as he then throws a huge double-footed kick towards Chiho, barely getting her in the arm as she gets hit back, feeling the damage. Chiho would summon puppets who Sasuke has to battle, Sasuke using threads to tie up the puppets and restrict their movements, similar to how Chiho had taught him. Sasuke would be confused, wondering why she's making it so easy, as he then realizes using his Sharingan that he's falling right into a trap, his foot getting caught as he gets pulled up. Sasuke now having to reveal his first technique. Sasuke would create a chakra thread as he begins to mold it, wrapping around his fist, as he then charges lightning style into it. Lightning style. Surge! Sasuke would have a ton of chakra threads wrapped around his hand, filled with energy from lightning style, as his hand begins to be covered with a blue light. Sasuke throwing his fist back, as the moment it touches the thread, it would get zapped, burning the chakra thread of Chiho to pieces, as Sasuke now has a gauntlet of electricity covering his fists, made out of chakra threads. As Sasuke falls to the ground, weaving this chakra thread around his entire left arm, now a coat of blue-like armor created out of steel wire-like chakra threads covering him as he charges with electricity. This gauntlet created out of chakra threads and then whipped together, almost like creating clothes using chakra. Sasuke would be able to insulate the inside by cleverly folding all of the threads into an outward pattern, manipulating the chakra flow using shape transformation, which he had learned by creating chakra threads to begin with. He would run the electricity up and down the inside of the spiral of each chakra thread, creating this electricity-filled gauntlet. This electric glove going from the bottom of his hand with his fingers revealed all the way up to the base of his elbow. So like a long-sleeved glove almost. Chiho would be pretty impressed with this creative use of chakra threads, wondering who would ever think of using them in such a manner as this, weaving them into clothes in order to battle like armor. And they're lightweight, since it's made out of chakra, so its density is incredibly light, but it still carries so much strength. In fact, it was so strong that the chakra had become visible, something that only occurs for those who know Naruto when chakra is incredibly dense. This is because of the way Sasuke weaved the chakra threads together in the same manner of interlocking chains. Sasuke would run forward as he throws a fake punch. As he does so, he launches a chakra thread forward about to tase Chiho. Chiho would barely move out of the way throwing poison, but this time the poison would be electrocuted, neutralizing as it burns away in the air. Chiho would come to realize rather quickly that Sasuke's new jutsu he had created wasn't just for show. Sasuke was able to use fire release on the glove, which was protecting his hand, to raise the glove to unreal temperatures, the glove turning from a light blue filled with electricity to a burning red hot. But Sasuke's hand would still be fine, covered with chakra on the inside like a layer of insulation, protecting him from the flames and the lightning. As Sasuke throws a punch into the ground, supercharged from the electricity and the flame, as the heat would cause the ground to melt and crack, electricity crackling over the ground and dirt, as he then throws another punch, this time being much stronger, as Chiho falls to the ground, his fist going through the wall as the entire wall shatters behind, an explosion being heard from this combination of flame and electricity. "I win," Sasuke would say, smiling, as she would be on the ground. "So, tell me, old farts, what do you think of my surge technique, lightning release? And this?" Sasuke gesturing to his glove, which has flame and lightning release. "A little jutsu I like to call lightning style surge, stage 2, overload." Naruto would be clapping, amazed, watching this battle. Sasuke had gained so many new abilities while he was unconscious, and Naruto's magic was back to full capacity. Sasuke would turn smiling to Naruto, as Chiho would then pull herself up, Chiho belittling Sasuke and what an ill gentleman he is, not pulling her up after he threw a punch like that at her, at a little old woman like her? Ha! What a disgrace. Chiho and Ebizo would be incredibly impressed with Sasuke. In this little time, having learned so much, even if he wasn't Uchiha of that leaf, and he had the Sharingan, he was able to take just the basic training they had given him and amplify it with his own knowledge, being able to take chakra threads and create an entirely new type of technique with them. Chiho, in fact, would mouth this aloud, telling Sasuke that she deems his new style of a technique a woven-type jutsu. A jutsu involving chakra being interwoven to increase its strength, something that they had never seen before. Sasuke, now at almost 10 years old, was the first person at his age to create such a powerful technique. Even Naruto was impressed, and he didn't know much about jutsu at all. "Wow, Sasuke, maybe you were the one who knocked me out," he'd say, gulping. Sasuke would turn, thinking, You really think so?" With Naruto nodding, saying, "It's pretty impressive. Where do you get the idea for a jutsu like that?" he'd say. Sasuke would gulp as he sort of blushes a bit, before he then says, stuttering, Actually, I noticed how your magic works. It's so fast without hand seals, and chakra threads is all mostly shape manipulation and nature enhancement. So I figured, why not create a technique that I could utilize the benefits of both? So I wanted to create a jutsu that I could use while being mobile, focusing on my agility. That's why I'm going to use this technique to kill Itachi," Sasuke would say. Naruto would pat Sasuke on the back, saying he's really proud of him, which would cause Sasuke to feel light inside. As Naruto tells Sasuke that if he keeps getting stronger like this, they'll be able to take down the Akatsuki in no time, particularly Hidan and Itachi. Little does Sasuke know, though, that the person that he was creating this technique for, the person he was trying to kill, would have seen it. They would have seen it all. As a crow flies away, A crow would suddenly land into a windowsill as we see that same woman from before walking over, her red eyes clearly having the Sharingan indentation now, as we can hear another voice from inside the room, that voice being Kasame. The woman would speak. As she sighs, her tone beginning to shift, as we suddenly hear a deeper voice, a man's voice, the Sharingan switching to a Mangekyo Sharingan, as she then tells Kisame that he can lower his guard. The man now transforming back into his normal form, as he rests saying, that took forever to get here. Itachi would nod saying he had a little business on the way here, sorry that you made him wait so long. As Itachi would then deactivate his transformation jutsu, the crow landing on his shoulder as his clothes then revert back to their original shape, that being the Akatsuki robe. As the crow would whisper into Itachi's ear everything it had seen, Itachi would be proud of his younger brother for seeing how far he's come in such a short amount of time. I guess that guy must not be doing too bad after all, he'd be thinking. I might be seeing you sooner than I thought, Sasuke. Itachi would turn, walking back towards Kisame, as Kisame would then whistle saying he likes his other form better. Shut up, Kisame. As the two Akatsuki members would be waiting to strike, waiting to finish their mission here in the Sand Village, to hunt down Orochimaru before he kills the 4th Hokage, possibly starting the next Great Shinobi War. If you guys want to see the next part for What If Naruto was a Warlock, make sure to hit that like button, comment below what you thought, and subscribe to my channel for more videos from me. This part was a lot of character development for Sasuke, mostly abilities and a power-up because he deserves it. It's been like 8 parts, and he's basically been the same strength this entire time. So I figured that Lady Chiho and Ebizo, who are like 2 of the most highly ranked ninja in the Sand Village, would be far more than adept enough to raise a lower level Sasuke from pre-Genin exam to a Sasuke who is actually somewhat competent and can actually help Suki and Naruto fight. I had a ton of fun coming up with what technique I wanted Sasuke to learn and how I wanted him to progress in this story. And I think that the idea of using chakra threads, which is something not particularly expanded upon in Naruto aside from the puppeteering jutsu, is a pretty interesting way to do that, and Sasuke using his own creativity to create a jutsu, that being Surge and Surge Stage 2. So I hope you guys are excited about that. If you have any jutsu suggestions or techniques involving the woven style that I'm working on with Sasuke, make sure to let them drop in the comments down below. Some of the fun is when I get to involve your guys' ideas into these videos, so I appreciate it. Next time, we're going to be seeing some bloodshed. Bloodshed from Gaara, Itachi, the 4th Kazekage, Orochimaru, what's going on? Which we'll be getting into during Story 9. I'll see you guys next time. See ya.